Hello and welcome to this joint webinar between EverFocus and T-DAB.AI. We'll be exploring how businesses can realize the transformative power of Edge AI using IoT data. My name is Mark Tarleton. I'm the head of sales at T-DAB.AI, and I'm joined today by Irene Yang of EverFocus and Dr. Eric Topham of T-DAB.AI. So let's get started very briefly with some quick introductions. Irene, can I ask you to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. This is Irene from EverFocus. I'm the Business Development Manager for the UK and Europe region.
Thank you, Irene. And Eric?
Hi, my name's Eric Topham. I'm the CEO at T-DAB.
Thank you, Eric. So before we get started, I'd just like to remind everyone that we would love to hear your questions and feedback. Please submit any questions that you have in the player as we go through, and there will be an opportunity for a live Q&A at the end. So without any further ado, let's get started. So Irene, if I could ask you to give us a bit of background on EverFocus.
Yeah, sure. So I will briefly introduce EverFocus background and what we can provide to you, to the customer. So EverFocus was established in 1995. So far we already have almost 27 years rich experience. And EverFocus is a ISO 9001 and ISO 14001 certified company, and we have many products have won the Taiwan Excellence Award. And at the beginning, EverFocus was more focusing on the smart surveillance CCTV systems. But since time to time change, the market have different needs. So we also extend our product lines to the industrial PC, embedded system, and the cutting edge solutions. And I think it was a very good change because as we know that the current IoT, or we say the AIoT solution or machine learning that rely on huge video and image analysis. So we can bring our video and image process domain know-how to the new era and help the partner and the customer to easier implement their solutions. And also in this IoT world, we know that due to the internet and the networking, everything changed very fast, very quick. So as a solution provider and the solution integrator, we know that only the hardware technology is not enough to handle all the things. So EverFocus cooperate together with the partner, and we wish to provide the customer a total turnkey solutions. And also for the different market, we'll have different challenges and also the different applications. But you don't need to worry because we do provide the different multiple platforms such as Intel and NVIDIA platform. And also we have the customization ability. So no matter the hardware or firmware or software, we can make a difference for your needs. Basically, in past 10 to 15 years, EverFocus to have many success cases in smart transportation solutions. So we know what the problem the customer are facing, and also we know how to solve it. But also we are more focusing on other markets such as smart surveillance, smart retail, smart campus, smart healthcare, and also the today's topic, smart factory. Next. So on this map, you can see there are some success cases which EverFocus has done before 3 to 4 years. So you can see we have the case not only in the UK, Europe, but also in America, in Asia, and also in India. And you can see that we have different applications in a different markets, such as the traffic flow management or smart building, smart retail solutions. Yeah. Okay, so in this slide, you can see that is our EverFocus total industrial PC solution to the customer. So from the bottom layer, layers have many sensors such as IP cameras, analog cameras, and also we collect the data from like all the sensors. We send the data through the internet to the second layer, the edge computing, the second layer here. And we also provide the Intel and NVIDIA platform, which I have mentioned before. And this is the front-end hardware device. Also, we can do many functions, many features on the software part, which is the back-end part, such as like people counting, object detection, and also this time we cooperate together with the T-DAB, which their AI platform is very good for the customer to manage all the devices.
Thank you, Irene. And Eric, if I could ask you to explain a little bit about T-DAB for us.
Absolutely, thanks Mark. So T-DAB.AI is a technology company specializing in machine learning solutions, and our flagship product is OctaiPipe, which is an edge AI platform. In fact, we are the leading player in edge AI for industrial IoT. And ultimately what we're doing with our technology is enabling industry at large to unlock greater productivity, perhaps access new types of revenue stream from intelligent devices, and indeed operate in novel or challenging environments. Yeah, and so obviously we all know that the AI has some enormous potential benefits that have been well advertised, but in our case, particularly kind of the industrial space, perhaps for instance in manufacturing, we care intensely about the operation of machines, where that operation produces something or generates something that is tightly correlated to revenue. And so in these cases we want, if you like, on-device intelligence to do a variety of things. Perhaps we want to predict future critical events in real time. Perhaps we want to optimize the control of our machine in an intelligent way. We might want to assess inputs and outputs, perhaps using, for instance, computer vision in and out of a machine. And indeed, we might want to be able to diagnose malfunction or assess suboptimal manufacturing of items, right? And so these are all things we want to do, but if you like, traditional ways of doing AI have reached their limits in this kind of distributed space of all these connected devices. So if you could move to the next slide. And so the limits really are that traditionally what we do is we move data off of all of these devices and we try and put it in some central data store, and we then build our machine learning algorithms, and then we have to either stream data from the devices through our algorithm to make predictions, or we have all of the difficulty of trying to move the algorithm back to the edge device. And this mode of kind of centralizing data causes three broad problems. So the first is that it actually costs quite a lot of money to move data across a network, particularly for using, say, for instance, satellite in more remote places. Also, the cost of the compute in the cloud is not negligible, and in fact, in many cases, this makes centralized AI almost impossible by being uneconomical in these very distributed environments. We have an issue of privacy and security, so increasingly owners of devices don't want to share data from them. That's a problem for those that perhaps want to create new revenue streams from the intelligence of those devices. And also there are now going to be strong regulatory penalties, at least in the EU, for privacy and security breaches of data from IoT devices. And finally, there's an issue of latency and autonomy. If we're having to move all of this data around, things take longer to happen. We want things to happen in real time. We also want devices not to rely on being connected to the internet, to be connected to the cloud. We want them to be autonomous, even when they don't have a network connection. And so if you go to the next slide, what we'll see is that OctaiPipe, which is our flagship product, really is a radical solution to this problem. And we use a new paradigm of machine learning called federated learning, where instead of moving the data to the models, we move the models out to where the data is generated in order to learn. And so OctaiPipe is a scalable platform that connects those edge and cloud environments. It has this new type of federated machine learning built into it, where we can learn at the device level, and then we are also automating the management of those machine learning models at the edge, which is really important for those machines to remain as intelligent as possible, no matter how the conditions around them might change. So if you go to the next slide, we'll have a quick view of what the platform looks like. So it looks like this. So under the hood, we have this distributed machine learning management system. It manages our machine learning models. It retrains them when the world around them changes. It keeps our machines intelligent. And also, we have this federated learning. So when we train an algorithm on each device, we are able to share the results of that learning back to some central location and aggregate them together. And this is hugely beneficial because it's extremely private. We can leave the data where it's generated, but also now, instead of moving gigabytes or terabytes of data, we're only moving a few megabytes and kilobytes. So of course it's a lot more cost efficient. And then on top of the platform, we have the ability for customers to either do their own development, or they can buy pre-packaged solutions regarding sort of time series sensor problems, or indeed computer vision problems. And we have a customer portal where people can go in and see the state of their IoT, industrial IoT real estate in real time. So if you just pop to the last slide for me, Mark, just to sum up, one of the really kind of cool things is that we're now building in the ability to not just do the prediction around computer vision on devices, but now in fact we're being able to automate a lot more of the learning on the device for computer vision tasks. And this is where we're working with EverFocus to integrate OctaiPipe into, for instance, their Jetson Nano device, which is really a flagship product for computer vision problems. And we're adding into that some really cutting edge technologies, not just edge machine learning for prediction, but also semi-supervised machine learning, so the device can learn for itself to recognize certain objects. And then we're also allowing devices to contribute to the learning as a group using this federated learning. And so finally then, I guess, just to recap, why does this all really matter for the customer? Well, ultimately what our customers want is more productivity. They want new revenue streams. They want to work in novel and challenging environments, but to do that they need edge AI that is more private, more cost efficient, and more resilient. And that's exactly what OctaiPipe does, and OctaiPipe's the only product out there that does it for them. So I think that's me for the minute, and I'll look forward to discussing some of this a bit more.
So thank you, Eric. Thank you, Irene. I'll stop sharing the deck there. So big subject. So let's get into it with some questions. So I'll start with you, Irene. Why is edge AI? Why is edge AI so important, and why is it seems there's a lot of buzz around it at the moment. So why is that?
Yeah. Because since the networking and the automotive technology control our life every day and everywhere, there is a huge data appearance in every second. So how can we use those data and how to is a very key point for the operators and for the customer. So compare the edge AI and the cloud AI. Edge AI has the low latency, so it doesn't need to wait the internet, the networking to sending the data, and it can do the analyze in real time. And the customer, they can get a result immediately also.
Thank you. And okay, so Eric, so we're hearing about the push to the edge, but how big is that market for IoT and AI today?
Well, I mean, the numbers are actually pretty staggering. There are already more IoT devices on the planet than there are human beings. So the latest estimate, I think, the figure stands at about 10 billion IoT devices, and that's estimated to grow to about 25 billion by 2030, which is staggering. And globally, the AI and IoT market is estimated to be somewhere around 89 billion pounds currently, and to grow to in excess of 140 billion by 2030. So it's a huge market. The shift between industrial IoT and consumer IoT is happening. There's still slightly in favor of consumer IoT in terms of the number of devices, a bit above 50%, but actually more money is spent in industrial IoT, even though currently the volume of devices is slightly lower, at 47% of all devices. And so here in Europe, Europe is the third largest IoT market with 23% of all devices globally, but it's going to see double-digit growth over the next sort of 3-4 years. And in fact, Germany by itself is the third largest IoT market globally. So Europe is a powerhouse in terms of the IoT market, which is vast.
Thank you. Okay, well, seems like there's a lot to go out there. So Irene, then, so from an EverFocus perspective, what sort of problems are your customers trying to solve?
Yeah, like for our customer, they always have some issues and challenges about that. They want to produce more quickly, and they want to save time. They want to increase their revenue and easier manage all the device, all the stage, and all the things. So I think this the AI can help. Also, the EverFocus hardware can cooperate together with the AI software, AI platform, together to solve their challenges, their issues.
Okay, so that leads us nicely into a question for Eric, which is, Eric, so you've mentioned OctaiPipe. What is it in a little more detail, and why did T-DAB think it was worth their time and money investing in this product?
Well, yeah, I mean, over the last sort of 5 years of T-DAB's history, we've worked heavily in the industrial space, and this is where we've landed up specialising. And what we've seen is that our customers run into real-world problems. When we try and do these sort of machine learning projects at scale, and really what this means is the limits of what kind of centralized or cloud-based machine learning driven AI can do in these circumstances. So in many cases we don't have good stable network connectivity all of the time. Many cases end users are worried about sharing data off of the machine or the device back into the cloud, or indeed, for end customer to share that to a machine OEM that's trying to add some additional digital service on top, and that causes a problem. And frankly, also just the cost these days. People are always talking about the cost of the cloud going down, but actually, it's extremely expensive for people to do processing, particularly, for instance, on computer vision type tasks that are, GPU hungry, and indeed, in many places where we're trying to operate, actually the network is too expensive. So if we think about wind farms, here in the UK, we're running out of shallow water to put wind farms in. So we have to go offshore. This means very long fibre optic cables. These break too often. It's uneconomical and impractical to use them. So we're reliant on network. But if we're far offshore, we don't have 3, 4G, 5G is a long way off still in practical terms, and so we're left with satellite network, which is extremely expensive. We can't move gigabytes and terabytes of data around, so we need other ways of achieving our learning while getting around these problems, and so OctaiPipe provides that solution. So on the one hand, it gives us a mechanism to learn where we can learn at the individual device level and simply aggregate the results back, which means that the amount of data we're moving around is tiny in comparison. It's also extremely private because the data stays on the devices and we can protect it there, we can encrypt it and so forth. And the second part is, which is critical, is that if you're going to do all these things on a device, you need automated management systems to manage those algorithms on the device, so that as the world around them changes, they can go through cycles of relearning and redeployment, so that that machine, if you like, has the best possible intelligence uptime that is so critical for its performance. And so that's what OctaiPipe is uniquely bringing together, which no one else out there is currently doing.
So I think what we've heard a lot here is how EverFocus are at the leading edge on the hardware side of the equation, and OctaiPipe is the solution on the software side of the equation. So, Irene, if I could ask you then, why are EverFocus looking for AI solutions and solution partners?
Because if as a hardware manufacturer, EverFocus can design and develop different functional devices for sure. For example, if in some harsh environments, the device can also work very good, then there is not a problem for EverFocus to design a very good power. And also if for some vibration situation, like for transportation market, sometimes they will need some vibration protection to protect all the device, such as the hard drive and also some of your data. Then this is very important for the hardware device design. But also, if today we have some function is also need the software or firmware to help to solve their problem, their issues. So I think the integration with the software partner, or we say the platform partner, is very important and a very big assistant to help to solve the customers their issues.
Thank you, very interesting. And Eric, from a T-DAB perspective, why is it important for our customers to have a turnkey solution with a hardware partner like EverFocus?
Well, ultimately, if we think about these technology projects, they're complex, right? There's a lot of moving parts. If you're the customer, you might have to deal with working with a network solution provider, the edge IoT hardware provider. That might be separate to even the sensor vendor, and then you've got us. You've got the not just the software, but also this kind of, to many people, new sort of software, the machine learning side of things as well. And so, to some degree, rather like the consumer world, if you could just buy the piece of hardware and it has the software pre-integrated to it, that takes away some of the pain and it reduces your time to value. But of course, the other thing is that if we can integrate with known pieces of hardware, we can optimize how our software works for that hardware. So not only is it easier for the customer to buy, not only does it reduce time to value, but actually the end solution that they get is more optimized than it would be if you were to bring those two things together, or at least you get the optimal solution without having to spend so much time optimizing it yourself. So that's really where the attraction is for us.
Excellent, and thank you for that. I think it's very clear that why both companies would come into this agreement together to bring out solutions for customers. But again, a question for both of you here now. So the partnership between EverFocus and OctaiPipe, why specifically is that exciting for customers of the EverFocus projects, of the EverFocus products rather? Irene, if you'd like to answer that first.
Yeah, sure. As Eric and me mentioned before, that Edge AI is current a trend, and also I think in the future will be the same. So yes, the hardware functions and interface design are very important, but how to manage so many devices and handle the cross data and analytics at the same time is also a very important topic. So when I knew the T-DAB and their AI platform of OctaiPipe, I think it is a very creative and innovative software platform which can really help the customer easier manage all the devices and do the things more efficiently.
Eric, I don't know if you want to give a couple of seconds on that, but also just to close off with, again, I'm hearing an awful lot here that, about data science, etc. Do we assume that the end customer will need a big team of data scientists and engineers in this partnership?
So I'll just start with the benefits with EverFocus. EverFocus are a globally recognised leader in IoT hardware. They manufacture on behalf of NVIDIA and the like. So really top tier machine learning hardware that we can work with them. So I think it's really kind of offering the customers an all-in-one solution that is greater than the sum of its parts. I think for both companies it also gives great market access in markets that we're both interested in operating in reciprocally. So for us in Asia and for EverFocus over here in Europe. In terms of whether the customer needs large data science teams, this is exactly one of the problems from the developer side that we've wanted to solve with OctaiPipe. So there's a shortage of engineers in the world generally anyway. One of the biggest challenges for customers trying to build their own in-house solutions is finding enough skilled engineers to do all of that ML ops development, the infrastructure, so on and so forth. And so what we've done with OctaiPipe is really kind of take that all away from the customer. So that is entirely automated in the back end. And now a fairly junior data scientist can very, very quickly write production-ready code, push it out to the hardware, and OctaiPipe takes care of all of the rest of the heavy lifting in the background. So the answer is no, the customer doesn't necessarily need a large data science team, and certainly the needs on kind of the engineering overhead is reduced. But in fact, we're even developing some pre-built solutions that we call them AutoML, because they can be executed automatically for very specific industrial use cases. So for instance, one of the main ones is future critical event prediction that the customer can buy from us and can be deployed fairly out of the box onto the customer hardware, and that learning can take place on the customer system very, very quickly with no engineering overhead from their part, and perhaps support from us or some of our system integrator or consultancy partners. So the answer is we're taking away a lot of that overhead for the customer.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to thank you both at this time. I think we're up against the clock now. So thank you for people watching this. Thank you for attending this Edge AI webinar. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Irene, for sharing your perspective and insights. There's now time for some live questions, so please send your questions in during the chat. And if you haven't got time to do that, we'd love to hear from you and get feedback on today's episode. So again, if you want to drop us emails or contact us via the contact details you've seen, we would appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.